Winning cures everything. Now for your hosts, Gary and Chris.
Welcome in, Winning Cures Everything. It is the Monday, April 4th edition of the show. I'm Gary.
I'm Chris.
And we have got a lot to talk about from a jam-packed weekend. We got MLB coming up this week. We've got the NCAA Tournament going on this evening. We will start off with that here momentarily. But Wrestlemania, ooh, baby, I was fired up for it. Good stuff with Wrestlemania, which I have not watched in forever. Like, I actually watched the whole thing on Sunday night. I watched a little bit of it on Saturday, and my 3-year-old is now somewhat obsessed with wrestling. So, big time stuff, but we'll talk about that here momentarily. Let me go ahead and tell you, I'll get the reads out of the way first. How's that? We'll go ahead and do winningcureseverything.com. That is the website. You can find everything that you need to know about us right over there. Very easy to do. winningcureseverything.com. Along with that, you can also subscribe to the podcast at any of your favorite podcast locations, and you can also, if you're watching on YouTube, you go ahead and knock out the YouTube. Hit subscribe on that as well. We are over 5,600 people. We want it to be around 6,000 by the time football season gets here, and then we will set a new mark once we get beyond that. But, make sure you subscribe on the YouTube and that you like the video for us, and jump into the comments, jump into the chat. We would love to see it. We have got a big-time basketball game going on this evening, Chris. I don't know if you're aware, and I'll let you finish that, and I will go ahead and talk a little bit. But we've got Kansas and North Carolina. We're going to react to the Final Four here momentarily, but this is a big-time matchup. Blue Bloods, etc. I'm fairly excited about it because of the matchup that we got. If it was Kansas and Duke, I think that I would be a little underwhelmed with it because it would be so much of Coach K. And instead, we've got an underdog, which is strange that, North Carolina would ever be considered an underdog, but this is an 8 seed. If they win, they would be tied with Villanova from the early 80s as being the highest seed to ever win a national title. And that is absolutely insane to me. One, that North Carolina would be an 8 seed. And two, that we've never had anybody other than teams seeded 8 or lower to win a national title. I mean, it's just bananas to me. But Kansas, the only number 1 seed left in the field, they are a 4-point favorite against North Carolina right now with a total of 151. Chris, have we got you back in?
Yeah, I'm
okay.
here. I've been here the whole time.
Okay, I heard.
I just mute myself. I'll mute myself if I have to handle some stuff.
Okay.
It's a huge game, big game, and see, you're right. It's weird saying North Carolina's an 8 seed because we all know they're stocked with 1 and 2 seed talent players. It just took them a minute.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
to figure some things out. And I got to stop seeing them as a big time underdog. They're definitely not a Cinderella story after they have taken the head off of Duke twice. And, that's the biggest thing. This line is the exact same line as the Duke line was. And North Carolina plus those points. I'm probably going to take North Carolina plus these points. But that's only because I love them. I think Kansas is a better basketball team.
Yes, I tend to agree. Now, I will tell you this. I really wanted to take North Carolina plus 4.5 when it opened up on Saturday night after the Final Four matchups. But I couldn't do it not knowing what Baycott's status was, right? He had the ankle injury. Apparently, he went through practice. Everything's fine. He came out and said straight up that, look, they're going to have to cut my leg off in order for me not to play in this title game. And I totally get that. But that doesn't tell us exactly how effective he's going to be. And he is such a huge part of what they do that I'm a little bit worried about it, right? Now, the numbers overall season would tell us that Kansas should actually be favored by 2.5 to 3 points, somewhere around there. Instead, they're favored by 4. They were 4.5 on Saturday night. If you look at the last 6 weeks or a few weeks before or a couple of weeks before the NCAA tournament started, Kansas would be favored by 0.5 point maybe. And that is incredible considering that North Carolina had been playing at a top 5 level. That just shows you how well Kansas has been playing in that same time period. They actually got point guard play now. Remy Martin didn't provide a whole lot in the Final Four game, but leading up to it, he actually was able to competently lead the basketball team and score points. He didn't have to score points in the Final Four game because when you got guys like David McCormick coming in 10 out of 12 from the field, I mean, I don't know where that came from.
They had one guy, I can't remember the kid's name. 7 out of 10 for 3-point. That's like that. What do you do with that, right?
You don't
this
do
guy's got 21 points from 3-point line on 10 shots. I don't know how you stop that.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And so I am not certain. I want to take North Carolina plus the 4. I didn't bet it. I'm probably not going to bet it because I'll probably do some live betting just when I see what Bacot looks like, because he is such a huge factor in this game for North Carolina. If they don't have him, I don't know how they handle Kansas's pressure. I don't know how they handle Kansas down low.
Well, I think they're going to have him. I think he's going to be fine. I don't think this injury was a big deal. He came back and came on the floor. The only reason he came out of that game was because he fouled out. It had nothing to do with his ankle. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to muscle up. I think he's going to play. He's going to play great, too, by the way.
The total, by the way, 151, I'm showing that's like a couple of points too high. But
yeah, well, it's a championship game, and people love to bet overs.
Yeah.
So
I would probably take the under there.
To me, that's what that is.
I'm kind of debating.
Also, you have nerves. You have nerves. You have the first, 7 minutes of the game where this thing could be, 3-4 because teams are missing shots and nervous because it's a big stage. And these are still 18-year-old kids, 19-year-old kids.
True, very true. The other side of this, North Carolina coming off of an insanely emotional victory.
That's the biggest thing that hurts you in North Carolina.
Yeah.
That scares me because they just, tackled their efforts. Ending Coach K's career a month after ending his career in Cameron and just being the ultimate spoiler for the biggest bully on the block for a long, long time has got to be the greatest feeling in the history of North Carolina and playing, and they got a game left. Yeah. And that's the thing. They still got a game left. And that's usually sign for letdown.
Yeah, that's I will tell you this. My pick on the show, I'll take Kansas to cover the 4 because of all those different things that I mentioned. I'm still going to take the under 151. I don't feel great about any of it. I'm going to live bet the hell out of this thing once I get a feel for it early.
Let's talk about this. Who's having a better couple of months than Roy Williams?
Oh,
man. My son Roy Williams is just watching him screaming, dancing, shouting. Man, it was just incredible seeing this guy in the stands and knowing that he coached at Kansas for 15 years. Then when he goes to move to North Carolina, he names his successor, Bill Self, as his assistant, takes that job. And then he goes for 18 years to North Carolina, names his successor there, and Hubert Davis. And these two guys are going to match up in the final game tonight. That's amazing.
A year after his retirement.
Good to be Roy Williams. There were people that were saying, do you think, I heard some people talking, do you think that he had any jealousy or bitterness thinking he should be the coach of this team? He wishes he was down there. And you know what? I didn't see any of that. I saw a man that is happy, that is ecstatic. This is a guy that is enjoying retirement better than anybody else right now on the planet is enjoying retirement.
Well, I will tell you this. I don't think I don't know that they would have made it playing the way that Roy likes to play, right? That was one thing that Hubert Davis did is he came in and changed up the philosophy that North Carolina has. And, I like the way that it's going. I think he is so excited because he doesn't have that pressure. The older you get, the more pressure there is to get one last one or do one last thing. And every loss at the end of a season ends up hurting that much more because you don't know how many more chances you got. And in this situation, he is just enjoying the hell out of all of it. Like, he doesn't have to worry about anything. He's just, we're going to ride this until I get tired of coming to games. And he's just hit all the games, smiling, enjoying himself. He is having a blast. I don't know of anybody that would enjoy retirement right now more than Roy Williams. I think you're right. As far as the picks go, like I said, on the show, I'll take Kansas to cover the 4, and then I'm going to take the under 151 again. I don't feel great about it. What you're going to take North Carolina, and then you roll an under as well.
I'm taking North Carolina. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. Let's talk about WrestleMania right quick. Did you see any of this? I don't know if you watched this stuff or not. So,
not 1 second. Didn't care about it at all.
So the Saturday stuff, like, I had it on. We had a couple of friends over at the house. I turned it on for just a little bit because I just got Peacock, and it's on. It's whatever. I don't know any of the people, so that probably hurts a little bit. But on top of that, I'm a huge Pat McAfee guy. I think he's super entertaining, super at everything that he does. He is really, really good at it. And McAfee was wrestling on Sunday night. And there's all these other matches going on, and I couldn't care less, but I don't know. They don't set this up like UFC, where which match is coming when in the card. So I just had to leave it turned on, and Lincoln came in. He went to church with his grandparents last night, and he came in and immediately saw Randy Orton and whoever the bro guy is that he's currently teamed up with, like a tag team guy, and immediately fell in freaking love with wrestling. Like, he has been all over Pirates and whatever kind of little boy stuff, trucks and whatever, anything that's somewhat violent or loud, he's into. And this completely grabbed his attention. Now, he turns 4 in May. I thought it was a little early for him to be at least, super interested in this. Man, he tried to do wrestling moves, jumping off the couch onto couch cushions and whatnot for the rest of the evening until it was bedtime. And as soon as he woke up this morning, he started in on, hey, like, can we play wrestling? Can we? And I said, man, you got to go. Like, I got to go to work. But he was all in on it. And I got to tell you, WWE got me back with that Pat McAfee storyline that they had. Did you see any of the stuff on social media at all, or do you need me to give you a quick rundown on it?
I mean, I saw a bunch of stuff on social media. Like, I saw the worst Stone Cold Stunner in the history of Stone Cold. Like, you're bringing a 60-year-old man out there to Stone Cold Stun a 70-year-old man, and it looked like shit. Like, all right, that's exactly what I thought it would be. Okay. Pat McAfee,
absurd.
Like, Pat McAfee's got a huge following. Okay, Pat McAfee's fun. Like, Pat McAfee's the hot blonde in the room all the time. Okay, like, yeah, he's entertaining, but at some point in time, just give me some substance. All right, give me something of depth. Okay, I want to have a meaningful conversation here, and I just don't feel like I get that listening to Pat. That's fine. Which means he's great for wrestling. I grew up loving wrestling. That's great. So.
Yes. No, that's it. You and I used to sit and watch this stuff at your house all the time. So back when we were in elementary school. But this whole Pat McAfee and this kid Austin Theory, whatever this is, that storyline brought me back in because McAfee ends up winning the bout, and he does like some crazy athletic stuff where he's jumping on the top rope and then he bounces off, does a backflip in the air and lands on his face. Crazy stuff, right? And he wins his fight. And he starts to get a little cocky, and he's pointing at Vince McMahon because apparently the kid that he beat is McMahon's protege or whatever. And he brings McMahon into the ring, and McMahon is going to fight him. And the fact that they had this thing scripted out like this, where McMahon is actually fighting with Pat McAfee, and he's clotheslining him and all that, and it's like McAfee is running directly into the clotheslines. Like, it is so obvious that Vince McMahon is past the point of being able to wrestle. And, they call it...
Pat McAfee has never wrestled. Like, he's never done any of this stuff.
Well, I mean,
McMahon
he has.
Is better at this than Pat.
Pat, like, he did the NXT stuff. He did some stuff. over the past, 2 years or whatever.
Okay.
But regardless,
All right.
like
this guy hasn't cut his jib on any of this stuff, man. He hasn't paid his dues.
No, not at all. Not at all. But you can't convince me that Vince McMahon at 76 years old is capable of getting in a ring and doing anything. It's insane to me. And it didn't look like he was capable of doing it. It looked completely if anybody had graded these things out, this would have been graded an F for sure. But the thing that it got us to was the callback, right? Because they bring out Stone Cold, and it incites that whole rivalry that they had back in the late 90s. I think it was the late 90s when Stone Cold was beating up Vince McMahon on the regular, right? And he was whipping ass, and he was like, "Here, you son of a bitch," and all that kind of. They brought him out, and that Stone Cold Stunner you were talking about, that was the worst one I've ever seen. Yeah, it was absolutely dreadful. And Stone Cold gets up and starts laughing immediately about it. And you could tell it was one of those laughs that was like, this is such a shit show. What are we even doing? They won me back completely.
What are we doing here? What are we talking about right now? We're only 13 minutes on something nobody watched.
Oh, God almighty. Hey, I had a blast with it. I had an absolute blast.
Okay.
It was so entertaining.
That's awesome. You had fun. We're not a wrestling podcast. What are we doing?
Hey, I wanted to talk about it. So we talked about it. And we only spent 6 minutes on it.
At what point in time we're going to stop talking about it? We're going to get to a point. Pat McAfee, he did wrestling now. Again.
Hey,
okay.
Tell me this. So Roman Reigns or Brock, one or the other, gets injured.
I don't know who either of those people are.
Okay.
I know who Brock Lesnar is.
It's two big time dudes. Apparently both of them got injured in the middle of their fight last night. Why don't you think WWE publicizes any of these injuries? Why don't they just tell people what's going on with that stuff?
Why would they? Why would they have to?
I mean,
it's a made-up thing. People have been getting hurt forever doing wrestling. Why would they ever talk about it?
I mean, it's a good point.
There's
there's
negativity
some stuff
on the story.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. I don't know. Maybe it helps people believe that it's a little more real, I guess, because obviously the stunts are real.
No. Wrestling was small time for a long time.
Yeah.
And then as soon as the cat got out of the bag and they openly admitted that it is sports entertainment and not real, guess what happened? Wrestling blew the hell up. Because then they stopped trying to pretend it was real and they started making it more Hollywood. They started making it bigger and better, things that were not realistic happening. And that's when it got big. So why would they ever go back to the business model of, it's more real? No, it's a terrible idea.
You do have a point there. I was reading something earlier, and I'm trying to find it. The WWE's net worth this past year, what they brought in, was over, well over $1 billion. It's a new record for WWE. I did not realize it had remained and continued to grow as big as it has. But they brought in Nick Khan, who was at CAA, and he's the new president. They brought him in, I guess, a year and a half ago, somewhere around there, and he has grown this thing just gigantically. But what they did at Cowboy Stadium was unreal, absolutely unreal. It was a spectacle to behold, man. I was shocked. Yeah, I hadn't watched this thing since you and I were watching it in your room back when we were kids, really. And man, I was tuned in. I was dialed in on the stories. I do want to talk about some real sports. I do want to discuss that. We have been hinting at talking about Major League Baseball for quite some time. Are you prepared to be able to give out maybe some World Series picks or talk about some of the moves that have gone on inside Major League Baseball?
I'm prepared to talk about anything you want to talk about.
Well, let's do it. I know this about MLB. I know that the AL East is absolutely freaking loaded this year with the Rays and the Blue Jays and the Red Sox and the Yankees. I know that all of those teams are supposed to be pretty good, and the Yankees are supposed to be the worst of the bunch. I will go ahead and tell you, I do have a small ticket on the Rays plus 1,600 to win the World Series, and I've got a small ticket on the Giants at plus 2,000 to win the World Series. those are the only two that I have played thus far. What are you looking at? What kind of moves are we looking at? I know Freddie Freeman has moved over to the Dodgers, but we've got other stuff going on. Tell me what is happening in the world of MLB.
Well, okay. So you want to talk about free agency, or do you want to talk about picks? I mean,
well, how about this? Give me some picks first, and then give me some moves that maybe pointed you in that direction.
So I do think every year I'm going to pick my Red Sox. I think they're really good. Now there are years where I don't think they're very good, and I won't pick them those years. I think this year has a chance to be special if we can get Sale back. The AL East is a gauntlet, and any team can win it that's not named the Orioles. The downside of the American League is I think the other two divisions are chalk. I think the Central and the West are going to be White Sox, and maybe Minnesota can kind of do something, Minneapolis, and keep that thing close, but I don't know. And I think Houston is going to still be strong, and I would need to see something from Seattle or the A's to think that they can contend. National League is where it's totally up in the cards, like just as wild card gets. I love the Mets before DeGrom went down, and now I need to have an idea of how long is DeGrom down. Like if he misses half the season, I think we're okay because the season's really long. I need to know that if DeGrom's back and healthy and like gets 7 or 8 games under his belt, 10 games under his belt before the playoffs start, I think I like the Mets to win there now and have a really good chance at winning the the World Series.
Really?
That team has gotten significantly better offensively, but pitching wise, DeGrom and Scherzer is the best 1-2.
When Scherzer's dealing with injuries too, right?
And Patriots, no, Max is fine. No, Max is going to be healthy. Max is an absolute warrior god. Okay, he's going to pitch. He's going to make all his starts, and he's going to be great.
Okay.
Philly's loaded up on offense, but at some point in time, I have no idea and I'm not going to pretend to be a baseball expert. I don't know what their pitching looks like to know can they hang with some of these other big bats. The team I like in the Central was the team that won the Central last year. I think the Milwaukee Bucks, which I don't think they're favored, but they might be. I'm not Milwaukee Bucks. I'm thinking of basketball. The Brewers. I like the Brewers a lot coming out of the Central, and I think the Cardinals. The Cardinals, I think, are about to run out like an old timers team. Like, hey, remember when we used to be really good and special? Yeah, we've got Yachty for one more year. We brought Albert back. We got Carpenter back. Yeah, those were big signings in 2010. Like, that was 12 years ago. What are we talking about? So, the Cardinals will compete because they're always good. I just don't know if they're going to make a big enough splash because I don't think there's a lot of I'm not going to say that. I don't know if the Cardinals make the playoffs. I like your Giants pick. The Giants were completely shocking last year. I would love for the Padres to be good. But, man, the Padres can't get out of the Padres' way.
Well, that's why I didn't bet them. If you look at the odds for the NL West, Dodgers obviously minus 225. The Padres are plus 275. The Giants are plus 500. And the fact that I can get the Giants at plus 2,000 to win the World Series, it's still kind of short odds. But you're not going to find anybody for great. And I don't know that I have to have the Giants win the NL West to win the World Series. So I think I feel pretty good about that one. Going back to what you were talking about the Mets. They're plus 200 in the NL East. The Braves are plus 125. Did the Braves kind of lose the heart and soul with Freddie Freeman running over to the Dodgers?
No. Okay. So I think they lost leadership. Yeah. But they also lost, they lost the World Series MVP, Jorge Soler. Yeah. Putting together that team on the fly, the way they put them together, the Braves are still going to be really good. That's why I said that the NL East, just like the AL East, there are, I think there are 3 teams in that mix that could win it from there. But I think there's just going to be some letdown. I think there's going to be a little bit of a hangover. I also think that, so they picked up, oh, God, I forgot his name. They picked up first baseman from the A's that, per his WAR, is better than Freddie Freeman. And so, all the advanced stats, if you look on the back of a baseball card, it says they upgraded by letting Freddie go. And I understand. I have an appreciation for those things. I don't think they're irrelevant completely. But also, you're not just replacing Freddie. You just that just doesn't happen. I think your team is worse without him than with him. And so those things happen. But I think that with him in LA, he won't matter at all. He's just another mercenary in a room full of mercenaries. Okay, and at some point in time, those guys are just going to start shooting each other because that's just the way egos go. And if they don't one day, then everything I know about sports and guys being ultra competitive is wrong. So
yeah, no, I could get down with that. As far as the Cardinals go, we were just talking about them. They are plus 225. That is second best odds to win the NL Central. The Brewers are minus 180. Other than that, you got the Reds at plus 1,000. You got the Cubs at plus 1,200. You got the Pirates at plus 5,000.
Well, I mean, the Reds and the Pirates are in we're just not spending a nickel mode, and we're going to basically tank.
Yeah, that's why I was surprised that the Reds were actually shorter odds than the Cubs right now. I mean, Cubs are plus 1,200, and
it's okay. It's splitting hairs, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's plus 1,000.
At the end of the day, neither one of them are going to win it. All right, but so the Reds were good last year, which is why maybe they got better odds than the
Cubs. Yeah, no, you're right. The Astros have the second best odds to win the World Series.
I think the Astros are still good. The Astros are still really, really good.
I don't know why that irritates me. They just continue to find ways to be really, really good all the time. They're an incredibly well-managed organization, and they had the whole scandal and whatnot, and everybody hates them. You and I don't necessarily agree.
Only weak-minded, petty people hate this. Okay.
Yeah.
And let me explain that. All right. This is it. There's a huge case going on right now in New York where it's 100% positive that Rob Manfred caught the Yankees doing the same thing. They just weren't using a garbage can, but they were using technology. They were using cameras to do all of this stuff. And this is what I said this. The second the Astros got in trouble, I said this. Listen, guys, they're probably 25 of the 30 teams doing exactly what they're doing. And everyone wanted to scream and holler, yeah, but they're not doing it openly. They're not blatant about it. They're not okay, all right. So because somebody is more reckless, that makes them worse than everybody else who's getting away with it forever. And then you got Aaron Judge going on national TV crying. This grown-ass man crying because somebody cheated you out of a possible World Series. Somebody cheated you out of your MVP. Oh, God, I'm cheated. Well, look at your home and away stats and offense, baby. And let's talk about who should be crying, all right? Because when you're on the road, you can't hit dick. You know why? Because you don't have the ability to cheat. And I hate the word cheater because I know everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
The exact same thing could be said for the Dodgers who cried about that same season. Cry me a river. Don't go walk in the Pacific Ocean. Just keep on walking. Just keep fucking walking, okay? Because nobody cares. Jacob deGrom, one of the greatest pitchers of all time, talks about it systematically. When I was in a playoff series against the Dodgers, not one time in my entire start, not once, did the Dodgers swing at a single curveball. But when we went to New York, they swung and missed every curveball. Now somebody explain to me how that's just magic. But we're gonna have the balls to get on national TV in front of sports writers and cry because this team beat us cheating when you're doing the same thing. It's the same thing. When Alabama loses a recruit, they got to be cheating to get them. Like, you got some balls, man. How the hell do you think you're getting them?
Everybody's doing the same thing.
Well, if everybody's doing the same thing, then I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying it's right. But I'm saying you damn sure can't play a victim.
Oh, agreed.
Everybody can be a bad guy, but nobody gets to be a victim here.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. We got a little derailed there. Let's try and bring this thing back on the tracks here. Have you seen the ESPN power ratings to begin the season?
No, I've looked at no power ratings, looked at nothing. I've watched a little bit of spring training. I've just watched where these guys go.
All right, so they've got number one here is the Dodgers, which I think everybody knows exactly what they've picked up in the offseason, what they already had, et cetera. Which, by the way, I forget the guy's name. Longtime sports columnist in L.A., and he thinks that the Dodgers are going to basically become what the Braves were in the late 80s, in the 90s. Where,
is it Bill Plaschke?
Yeah, Plaschke. That's it. Yeah. So you saw this then?
No, I just know who Bill Plaschke is.
Okay. So do you agree with him that
no.
you think they're going to rail off some championships then?
No. Oh, no. Listen. They're the Chiefs right now. All right. It's a dynasty of one. Okay.
Exactly. That's what the Braves were. That's what he was talking about basically. Like, they're probably going to win a bunch of divisions. They may win their division.
They're going to guaranteed win a bunch of divisions. Like that. All right. They might win some. They didn't win the division last year.
Agreed.
So,
what he's talking
when
about
are we
is,
going to start counting? Like they won the World Series 2 years ago. They didn't win the division last year, but all of a sudden we're just going to chalk them up to like, I know San Diego's got their issues this year, but like they're obviously spending tons of money and they're trying and they've got a lot of talent. All right, the Giants are doing whatever they can to stay pace with these guys. Like you just think these other teams are going to roll over?
Well, no, of course not.
No. What happened for the Braves to do this, Gary? It's very simple. The Mets were a complete and utter catastrophe. The Phillies were a complete and utter catastrophe. Two of the worst ran organizations on the planet, and they were in a division with the Marlins that weren't even trying to win. Okay? This is not hard. How do you win in a race of four guys 16 years in a row? Well, two of them are morons, and the other one is just not even running the race. They're colored.
Yeah.
So that's how you get 16 in a row.
Yeah, and I doubt that they'll turn into that.
that.
I think that they will be competitive. They will make playoffs, etc. But you're right. I mean, you're looking at a completely different mindset in the division because the Padres ain't going away. The Giants are not going to stop competing. The Rockies, they'll have a good year every now and then, and the Diamondbacks kind of do the same thing, right? It's like once every 4 years they kind of load up, right?
I think it's more than every 4 years. They're on pace to not be real good for very often, the Diamondbacks and the Rockies. But you've got two other teams that are trying and are competent.
Yeah, no, the Padres and the Giants for sure. Like they both want World Series titles. Padres hadn't had one in a long time. Giants, of course, won a couple of them not too terribly long ago.
I'm gonna say that I remember the Padres have never won one.
Yes, that is correct. They have not won one. God, I thought they had one like forever ago, but
nope.
But my God, I think you're right. Yeah, they've never won one. Striking. Interesting. All right, so I mean, Fernando Tatis Jr. When he returns, I'm curious to see what the Padres look like.
I don't think he's returning anytime soon. I think he's going to be out for
a long time. Yeah,
long time.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. Like they've got. He should be back in time to. I think it's like 3 months. They're saying he's going to be back in like 3 months, something like that. We'll see. I don't know. I want the Padres to be good. He kind of feels like he's kind of the heart and soul of that team a little bit. And I know they got better players, like not better. They got good players around him, etc. This is a good organization. I just don't know what you do without him. Like you need Manny Machado to step up. You need Will Myers and Eric Hosmer, etc. I'm curious about them. Is there anybody else that you want to point out? I'm still shocked at your Mets pick there, and I know like it's obviously different without DeGrom, but I feel like the Mets have done this to people for years, right? They just haven't been great in a long time, and they're always kind of projected to be that. So I don't know.
I like them. I think they're going to be good.
And so Pete Alonso doing his thing again. Yeah. We shall see. So who, if you had to make 2 bets on the World Series, aside from your Red Sox, who would you go with?
Blue Jays and you know what? It'd probably be Blue Jays and the Mets. Those would be my 2 picks.
Okay, Blue Jays plus 900, Mets are plus 1,200. So I like it. Not too shabby. So, and so long as DeGrom comes back, middle of the season, somewhere around there, even a little later in the season, they could still find their way into the playoffs and make some noise. And you're right, DeGrom and Max Scherzer, yeah, that's a 1-2 punch. That's pretty hard.
That's a 1-2 punch. That's pretty damn scary.
No, you have got that.
And they've got offense. So
yeah, no, you're not wrong there. Let's talk about a reaction to the Final Four a little bit. North Carolina did beat Duke 81-77. Kansas won 81-65 over Villanova. What I wanted to talk about is I saw this question posed somewhere else, and I can't remember where it was, but I wanted to get your thought on this. Is Duke more likable without Coach K? Like, if we don't have it, is all that hatred just for the one guy and the way that he went about coaching basketball, and it just bled over to his players? Do we think that any of that changes when you bring in John Shire as the new coach? I don't think it does. I think Duke is still an incredibly hateable team, and people will continue to watch them and hate against them for as long as they continue, this run, even without Coach K.
I think they're hateable because of their. I mean, it's a rich Ivy League school or a private school. That's the biggest thing. Is this is about class. This is about people who are privileged and feel as if I don't know. The general population has an assumption that rules don't apply to those folks. That they're not playing the same game the rest of us are. Anybody going to school at Duke.
Yeah.
And so that's not going away just because K's gone. Now, K was a big part of that culture, I think.
Yes.
Like I just did. Like he
instilled it into him.
That was.
I mean, that's where you got all of the Bobby Hurleys and the whoever else, Grayson Allen, etc. That all kind of did the same thing that everybody kind of disliked all the time, right? And
they are. Let me go on record and say, not to say that is true. I'm just saying that's the perception. All right.
Yes.
So people who hate Duke, this is why they hate them. Okay?
I will tell you this: that Final Four game, there were a lot of people that became North Carolina fans just for that one night that would have never cheered for North Carolina, and they were all pulling for the Tar Heels. Like that's something that
cheer for North Carolina. North Carolina's a fun team.
Agreed, but they're a blue blood, and there are people that don't exactly like the blue bloods. They feel like they get
okay, but all right. So who's a blue blood though, and who gets to dictate that? Because while I agree to an extent, like hating all blue bloods just doesn't make any sense. Because at some point in time, there's just so many of those as a part of the the sport that like. You're now just okay. Then you're just not going to watch the sport then.
I think in college basketball, there's only like a handful of them, right? You've got your Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke.
All right, would you say Villanova's a blue blood?
No.
See, I think the majority of college fans and people who write about the sport would completely disagree with you.
It depends on. I think here's who I have as a blue blood in college basketball: Indiana, UCLA, Kentucky, Kansas, North Carolina, and Duke. That's the 6 blue bloods. I think those 6.
Did you say Kentucky?
Yeah.
Did you say Louisville?
I did not say Louisville.
See, so that's insane. Why would Louisville not be one? Because they're not good right now? Because they're not good today?
Well, no, I don't think that you can have 30 blue bloods. Like, even though there's 350 some odd whatever programs in college basketball, I think there's only like a handful of them.
Well, what makes a blue blood then?
Years and years.
Like nobody. Okay, nobody. See, that's because you're almost 40, Gary. Nobody in college basketball is afraid of Indiana. Nobody.
Agreed.
Because they haven't been good enough to be afraid of. Villanova's 100 times a better program as Indiana over the last 10 years. I'm not giving
maybe
you
20.
just last year or the year before.
Maybe 20 years.
10, 15 years.
Yeah,
20 years. Villanova is far, far better than Indiana. But because Indiana was great in the 80s, like, what the hell does that matter?
Well, but Indiana was great longer than that, right? So you got your...
No.
Well, those are the ones that I've got.
How great were they in the 90s? How great were they in the 90s?
I mean, they weren't great. They weren't, national title great, but they were good. So...
Okay, but that's not blue blood. Right? We're not talking about that, right?
Who would you have as a blue blood that I didn't list?
Well, I would have UCLA. I don't know if you said you. I don't remember.
Yes. Hold on. Listen. UCLA, Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke, and hold on. I said somebody else. And Indiana. Those are my 6. So, but UCLA and Kentucky.
I would have Louisville. I would have Villanova, and I would have all of them in over Indiana.
Yeah.
Just because I know Indiana. I know Hoosiers was a great movie. It's one of the best movies ever made in the 80s. I loved it. All right, one of the best sports movies of all time. And I know that was a big thing for a long time. At some point in time, tell me why you're good. Tell me why you should still get this accolade of being a blue blood. It's not you can't have a bad year. It's not that we were down for a year or two. Man, you're not good. Like, you're not making the tournament. You're missing the tournament for a decade.
True.
That you're not a blue blood, man. I don't think you have to make it every year.
That's an interesting question.
What you did in the 80s doesn't matter anymore, man. We're just too far gone from that. All the people alive today don't remember that. All the people alive that do remember it, they don't remember it because they're too old.
True. I mean, you're not wrong. I'll disagree on you about
I'm not adding
about our
a bunch
definition
more,
of blue blood.
But I think Villanova absolutely fits it. A, you got a private school. B, you got big money. You got a school that doesn't play football, so they only play basketball at this level. Okay, because they're an FCS school in football. And so it's the most important sport to the school. And C, they make a shitload of tournaments and they win their conference every year. And they got like a couple of titles as well that very few people alive have.
That's very true. Very true.
And I'm not talking about over.
Aside
like I
from
said,
titles,
you can't just be good for 5 years and call yourself a blue blood. That doesn't count. No. But we're talking 10, 15 years, 20 years. No, they belong.
So Indiana basketball is effectively Texas football and Nebraska football as far as blue bloods go.
I would say Nebraska. I mean, Texas has been better than them in comparable ways, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Like, they've had better seasons than Indiana's had in basketball and football.
Yeah. I think you're right. I definitely think you're right. So that's interesting. We might need to spend a little more time on that later on. Just kind of going through definitions of blue blood and what we think blue bloods are, et cetera. Because you could maybe consider Gonzaga that at this point because it's been 20 years. I mean, they've made the tournament 16 straight seasons.
I didn't bring them up.
Yeah,
but I would absolutely throw them in there. I would absolutely throw Gonzaga in there as a blue blood.
I don't think you have to win a title to be considered blue blood.
I don't think you have to have a title, and I don't think you have to be good right now. Like I know Louisville's not good right now, and they haven't been good for a couple of years. But that doesn't. You can't take away what they did 5 years ago, though. Like,
true. The other thing that I wanted to bring up. Let's see. We have got Kansas beating Villanova. How interesting is this going to be if Kansas wins this and then gets their IARP stuff and they're banned from next year's tournament, which basically means had the FBI done all this stuff, they would not have even been eligible, not the FBI, but the NCAA. If they had gotten on this a little bit sooner, they might not have even been eligible for this year's tournament. How big of a storyline do you feel like that might be once this tournament wraps up?
I mean, maybe once it wraps up, it'll become one, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think everybody knows what's going on in college sports. And now all these things that they did that they got in trouble for that were illegal are all legal now. So it's just really hard for your casual fan to care. Schools that hate Kansas will absolutely use this against Kansas. But I mean, it's, you know, I can't get any fire under them for this stuff because I think it's dumb. And if the FBI didn't get involved, then the NCAA would have never found any of this stuff.
True.
Because they're completely inept.
Which is, think about how crazy this is. The NCAA was able to get more stuff on LSU than the FBI did. But
that was only once the FBI opened the
basketball case, the basketball corruption case.
Yeah, like the FBI started the thing. Like if the FBI didn't start the thing, then then the NCAA gets nothing.
Yeah, and then Will Wade is still there doing his thing, and you know you're not having to worry about Matt McMahon rebuilding an entire roster, which is crazy. Have you seen that, by the way? Every single player on LSU's roster is in the transfer portal. That's now obviously This is not a Final Four topic, but that shocked me. I have never seen that before. So
how's that shocking? They're about to get hit with a bunch of sanctions. This is the other thing the NCAA does. They're real good at punishing people that didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah. We've talked about that before.
I mean, that's what they're great at. All these kids for Kansas next year. And listen, I'm not crying for Kansas. I don't like them, but that's irrelevant to whether I like them or not. Is irrelevant to right or wrong. All these kids, you know, that are going to get punished that go to Kansas for this stuff, like they weren't a part of this. They didn't do anything and they didn't break any rules.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. I mean, that was, 4 years ago that all that stuff started? Or no, 5 at this point. It was 2017. And that is just bananas. Just bananas to think about. I got 3 more topics that I want to hit on right quick. Butler basketball hired Thad Matta. And you may remember Thad Matta as being the
I know Thad Matta very well. I like that.
Oh, yeah. Used to coach at Ohio State. He was actually the Butler head coach for 1 year in 2000 and 2001. Then went 24-8, went to the second round of the NCAA tournament that year, and then he bolted for Xavier, stayed in Xavier for, I want to say 4 years, and then ended up, leaving there and went to Ohio State for a long time. He had back problems, and he's only 54 years old. Like, he's still relatively young in basketball coaching years. And, if he's back to being healthy, Butler did a pretty good job here. It was strange that they fired Jordan when they did. LaVelle Jordan, his contract was set up very differently than most college basketball coaches, where it was April 1st when his contract, the buyout would drop. So they had to wait and wait and wait because most of these were done, second week of March? And then This is the last one that actually opened. Everybody else has already filled their job. So Butler was kind of choosing from a limited pool here because everybody else is already starting looking at recruiting, like early recruiting and whatnot. I think, if he's healthy, if he can go out and recruit, if he can actually do his job, which he was not able to do at Ohio State towards the end there because of the back surgeries, if he can do this job, they hit a home run. I don't know that you can get better than Thad Matta. Yeah, you kind of feel the same?
Yeah, I like Coach Thad. So, it's hard for me to not like this hire. I think they got a great guy. I think they got a great coach. And I don't think his back's going to cause them problems. Like, Butler's not in the recruiting runnings for, top, 100 kids. You know what I'm saying? They're not getting NBA lottery ticket guys. So he's not making the recruiting runs that he was making at Ohio State.
True. You are not wrong about that. I did want to bring up, obviously, anybody that follows this show knows that we talk football quite a bit, so we can't go through an entire show without it. The Patriots, they got Devante Parker, wide receiver from the Dolphins, traded a third-round pick for him. And my question to you, sir, is if you were the Dolphins, what in the world are you doing? Now, I understand that Parker has had trouble staying on the field. He's been injured, pretty regularly. But there's not a player in the NFL that has more contested catches than Parker. This may be the best wide receiver that they have had there since, not counting tight ends, obviously, but just wide receivers, since Randy Moss. I don't know that you've got a more athletic guy that can go up and get the football. We can talk Julian Edelman, we can talk, stuff like that, but this guy could be a superstar if he's healthy. He just hasn't been. He's played one full season with the Dolphins. If you're Miami, why would you do this?
I just think your wide receiving room is full. That's it. I mean,
yeah, and I'm sure that
when's he going to get on the field?
Yeah,
how many touches he's going to get? And at some point in time, egos are a thing. And if he's getting a third of the balls, and Waddle's getting a third of the balls, Tyreek's getting a third, that's not going to work.
You know what I didn't think about? I wonder what the contract situation is with him.
Well, very little. I think he's still on his rookie deal, isn't he?
I think so, but I think it's getting close to the end. No.
Okay, it might be getting.
He signed a 4-year, $30.5 million contract with the Dolphins in 20.
Well, 4 years, $30 million ain't a lot.
Here we go. All right, so he's only $6 million against the cap this season, and then $6.3 million against the cap next season, and then he's an unrestricted free agent.
That's pretty cheap for a big time wide receiver.
That is true. Okay, so he's not on his rookie deal. He is 29 years old.
Okay, so he's been in the league a lot longer. I guess just not seeing him on the field much. I kind of lost track of how old he was.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. Looking at, go ahead.
I don't know how good this is going to be for the Patriots. I hope it's great. He's got to stay healthy. He's got to be on the field. The Patriots wide receiving room has been the worst in the NFL for, I don't know, the last 5 years, 6 years. And it's not close, by the way. It's really not close. When an aging Julian Edelman is the best receiver in the room, that's a problem. It's good to have that guy in your locker room. He can't be the best. That's where we get issues.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
Bill Belichick has completely debacled the wide receiving position. He don't miss much, but he has missed that.
He definitely has not
badly.
The drafted ones that he has had are pretty bad. Pretty bad.
Yeah.
They have not done well.
Yeah.
And this is, you take a swing, you see what happens. He played all 16 games in 2019. He played 14 in 2020. He played 10 last year. Only had 73 targets with 40 receptions last year for 515 yards. That 1 year where he played all 16 games, he had 1,200 yards receiving. He had 9 touchdowns. So, the problem is he played 14 games in 2015, 15 in 2016, then 13, 11. Then he played 16, he played 14, and he played 10 last year. So 93 total games. He's only started 64 of them. 4,700 yards receiving. He can be a stud if he can stay on the field. I think that's the biggest thing. That is the biggest thing. It could work out wonderfully, but now if you're the Dolphins, you got to play him twice a year, and maybe it's only once a year. Maybe it's only the early game. Who knows? So, but yeah, you're right. I think their receiver room is pretty full. Pretty full. We'll close out with this one. Michigan's spring game was this past Saturday, and at halftime of the spring game, they brought out Colin Kaepernick to throw in front of NFL scouts. And I found this very interesting. Obviously, he's got a connection with Harbaugh. Harbaugh and Kaepernick went to the Super Bowl. They went to 2 NFC title games. Aside from that, there's obviously a connection there. But, he looked pretty good throwing the football. He's only 34 years old. If you're Michigan, first, why do you bring Cap out? Because all that does is invite controversy to your spring game. But it definitely does get you a lot of press, a lot of publicity. He turns 35 in November. Kaepernick does. Did you see anything about this? Do you think that there's any prayer that he ends up on an NFL roster this fall?
It's going to depend on what kind of contract he wants. I think this has been the issue all along, and I know that people can argue the NFL racism issues and all stuff. Listen, talk to a blue in the face about how awful some of these NFL teams are. Okay,
Yeah.
like these guys got issues, they got problems, but they all want to win. Okay, and is Cap one of the better 32 quarterbacks in the league? No question in my mind. He is better than 32 other players playing quarterback right now. Like, that's not a debate that we can have. The problem is what does he want? Because there are reports that he had contract offers like thrown at him last time. And the reports that, I read and I thought, I don't know how much truth this is. If he was wanting and this was, 5 years ago, however long ago, 3 years ago, that he was wanting, $30 million, $26 million.
Oh, yeah. You and I talked about this before last season, I think, because didn't he have a workout in Atlanta or something like that? And he obviously has shown that he can still fling it, but, he's making so much from his production deals and everything else, his deal with Nike, whatever, that he didn't want to just come back and actually be a teammate. He didn't want to come back and work his way back into it, and I think that's the holdup, right?
That's the holdup is you're going to go to a team, you're going to have to compete for a starting job. No one's going to just hand you one, but I'm against that anyway. This isn't just a Cap thing. You're going to have to earn your way to the spot, which is fine. And you also have to take a salary that's comparable to that, okay? Like, you can't come in and demand $30 million. I know that millions of every quarterback in the world right now is making $30 million, but not all of them, okay? And the ones that have are that I think Cap could be better than Kirk Cousins. Like, I at least have film on Cousins. I'm at least watching him play every year, week in and week out. Like, I know what he can do. And I also know what he can't do, but I know what he can do. Like, there's no debating what I know he can do and what he can't do.
Looking at the active roster cap allocation, the Titans have 3 players. They are number 1. Their average cap dollars per player is $13.48 million. So their cap for 2022 that goes towards quarterback is more than any team in the league. That's $40.46 million.
I know that he would not fit in well in the South. Nashville would not be the greatest place for him to sign for his politics and his views and all this stuff, and like how welcome he's going to be to a lot of the fans. But that's an unbelievable landing spot. I mean, that's an incredible landing spot with the rest of that roster, and being able to come back and say, I can play, I can compete, and I belong here. Because I think that's what he needs. Like, if he was smart, he would sign a 1-year deal for don't demand a ton of money. Make it incentive late, and then go to a team that's really good. And then earn your incentives by putting up big numbers, putting on the show, and winning a bunch of football games.
Yeah, I could.
Like, don't go to the New York teams. Like, you'd be welcome there, okay? Like, those cities and those fan bases would love you. But don't go there, because that sounds like a disaster. And then everyone's going to say, see, we knew he couldn't play. Look how terrible he is. Like, that, you don't want to do that.
So the one that everybody has him linked to right now, the Seahawks only have 2 quarterbacks on the roster currently, and their cap hit for this next year at the quarterback position is only $2.3 million. So,
well, yeah, I mean, the Seahawks, and that's like Pete Carroll actually interviewed him last time. Like, I could see him going there, and he'd fit in well there. But you're not going to win a ton of. I think they're in a rebuild, man. Like, this doesn't matter. Like, at some point in time, do you want to come in? You want to be awesome, or do you want to come in and you want to get paid? Because those are 2 different things. Do you want to prove you belong, or do you just want to get a paycheck?
Yeah. No, that's
because you
the biggest
signed
thing.
1 year for the Titans, and you make the playoffs, and you roll through this shitbag division. This division is garbage, man. Look at it.
Oh, it definitely is.
Okay, if you can't beat out Ryan Tannehill, why are we having this conversation? All right?
Yeah, Tannehill is the biggest cap hit in the league. Like, it's not even close.
And I think he can beat Tannehill out. Like I think he's just as good, if not better, than Tannehill. And some of that's because I haven't seen him play in a long time, and I see Tannehill play all the time. It ain't real impressive. So,
well, he and Tannehill are they're the same age, both 34 years old.
There's 35. It's not a big deal. It's just not.
No.
Him not playing for all these years doesn't bother me. Doesn't concern me. I think he can pick that up. Rookies come in the league and never played at this speed before, and they pick it up in a couple of weeks. By week 4, they're fine, right? So to pretend that Colin can't is just people that don't want to see him in the league. Okay, but if you want to have an honest, intelligent conversation about it, you got to say you have to show us. You have to explain to us why you think you're worth so much more money than all these other quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I think he's head and shoulders better than Baker Mayfield. But right now, you get Baker for a song, okay?
Yeah, true.
So,
I mean,
you got to. So at some point in time, we've got to balance this thing of what are you worth and what can you produce, and that's why I would sign a 1-year prove-it deal for a team like the Titans, and then just give yourself a ton of incentives, and if you have a big year and you blow this thing up, then great. Then next year you'll have 17 teams throwing their quarterback off a bridge to come hire you, come get you.
And this is true. What do you think the purpose behind Michigan actually bringing him in was? Like, is it just press?
Jim and him are close. I think it's Jim and him. I don't even think it's press. Jim Harbaugh thinks of nothing but football. I truly believe that. I think that guy thinks of nothing but football. When people think, oh, these great coaches would be great at other things, I point to Jim Harbaugh. I say, no. This guy's great at football, but he would be terrible at almost everything else in the world. So if you think he could run a CEO, Fortune 500 company, you're mistaken. You're just wrong. Okay, he'd piss everybody off. He'd run everybody out. All his talent would be gone. No, he just knows football, and because of football, he has relationships, and I think he has a great relationship with Colin.
Yeah, I believe you're right. I think that's why
I also do think this. I don't think Jim gives one damn about the PR from media. I'll tell you who he likes. This is going to help recruiting. This is going to help Jim get some of those boys from the South that are the top 100 players in the country not going to Michigan. They're going to say, hey, I'm boys with Colin, okay? And all of those kids on the South, fans of Colin.
Yeah, that's true. That is,
I do think it could help with recruiting. But I'll tell you, even if it wasn't going to help with recruiting, I think Jim does it because Jim loves Colin, because they have a relationship.
Yeah.
The whole world can think you're a shitbag, but if you're good to me and we have a good relationship, then I don't care what the whole world thinks.
Yeah, he's gonna help you out. I think that's commendable for sure.
That's my thought on that, and that's why I think he did it, and I think it's good for Colin. He probably is in great shape. He hasn't taken the hits that all these other guys have taken all these years.
Oh yeah, I mean it was 2016 the last time he played in the league, so it's been 6 years now. Yeah, but again, it doesn't make sense for him based on, like you said, what does he want? That's the biggest.
Well, that's the biggest thing. At some point in time, if he's willing to put some of these other things aside and say, "All right, I'm going to be a football player," we have seen guys try to be football players and focus on other things too. It don't go well. It just don't.
Exactly. So is he willing to trade in the production company and all that stuff in order to focus on football?
Yeah. And I'll tell you this, there's going to be conversations. So not that there weren't conversations in the past about not wanting Colin around and all this other stuff. That's fine for the image of the league and all this other stuff. There's going to be conversations about this guy did make a video proclaiming this sport that he's trying to get back into as like slave auction. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's kind of, so this is the thing that I struggle with Colin is the same thing I want from everybody. Just consistency, man. Like, if you really thought these people were slave auctions, if you thought the draft was a modern day slave auction, my problem is this. Why are you trying so hard to get back into it, man? Like, this is the issue, is you don't get to say that this is the worst organization on the planet and then say, man, I really want to be a part of that organization. What does it say about you?
You're not wrong.
So, like, there's some inconsistencies that I think PR folks need to get in his head, and they need to sit down and have honest conversations with him about, and they need to figure some things out. But I just want consistency in this world. If something is bad, then it should be bad, and you should be staying away from it. And if something is good, then you should push the goodness of it and want to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, most players go to the NFL in order to make money. Like that becomes their job. Colin Kaepernick's already got a job outside of that. Like he's already making money.
That's right.
So what is the purpose? And I don't know what that answer is.
I don't either. But like, you, at some point in time, you got to stand before somebody with whatever organization gives you a chance and say, "Hey, I was trying to make a point, and maybe my point was wrong, and maybe I went too far, maybe I went, I don't think he owes it to the league, I wouldn't call Roger Goodell and tell him a damn thing. That guy can kiss my ass, but like, and you can disagree with certain things, and then still want to be a part of like, the organization or the league. You don't have to agree with everything about them. I think they're massively flawed, but I still love the sport.
Yeah. He just hasn't come out and said that he loves the sport.
I've never accused the draft of being a modern day slave auction. Like that's the difference. That's pretty gross depiction of humanity or the lack of humanity. And then you say, well, but I want to be a part of that. Like if I thought something was that egregious, there's no chance I'd be a part of it. I'd be as far from it as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%.
But that's it. I mean, I if you don't think Colin is better than some people that are going to start on NFL teams at quarterback this year, you're just wrong. And you can't.
Or you're just not watching
We can't
football.
have an intelligent conversation.
Yeah.
And if you think Colin is the best quarterback in the league and deserves $30 million day one, you're wrong also. And the truth lies somewhere in the middle of all of that.
Well, the deal that the Falcons gave to Marcus Mariota is something similar that Kaepernick, it seems like that deal would make sense for a Colin Kaepernick figure, right? It's a guy with starting experience that has shown that he is capable of being able to do it. Don't get me wrong, he was not great that last season with the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, he got beat out by Blaine Gabbert, who, where is he? Is he still in Tampa Bay right now? Like I
don't know if Blaine Gabbert's still in the league, but maybe he's with Tampa Bay still.
But that's what we're saying, right? Is he got beat out by a guy that may not even be in the league anymore, and I still believe that he could be really good if he wanted to focus on it. He's still got all the tools. Yep. It's just that will he actually focus on it, and that's something I guess only he can answer. So we'll see what happens with it. I thought it was very interesting from this weekend. Was there anything else that you wanted to hit on? Maybe South Carolina women winning the national championship over UConn?
No, I mean, Miss Dawn, baby. Woo! She's a bad lady.
Yep, you better believe that.
Bad lady.
Was there anything else that we need to hit?
No, I can't think of anything else.
Looking at ESPN, see if anything's breaking or anything like that. I don't think that there is. The Masters are this week. We might should have given out some Masters picks, but we can talk about that on the Thursday show. So that's no problem. No problem. We won't be able to give pre-tournament stuff. Hey, you think Tiger's playing?
Honestly, I do not. And the only reason, my only logic is this: he played last week one day, and then he didn't play the next day. And I think if he could have played, he should have shown I can go out and play 2 days in a row. To win the Masters, or even to compete for the Masters, you got to be able to play 4 days in a row.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is I don't know if his body can hold up to that. I'd love to see it. I'd absolutely love to see it.
Same here. It would be his first appearance in a regular PGA Tour event in more than 17 months. It says he was seriously injured in a car wreck outside Los Angeles on February 23rd, 2021. So doctors nearly had to amputate his leg. It's rough stuff. Rough stuff, but we'll see. I mean, that's the talking stuff that's going on at the Masters right now. It's front page over on ESPN, so we shall see. What do we have here? Hold on. Eagles and Saints. Shake up first round of 2022.
I saw that trade. That doesn't make any sense. They're both trading a bunch of draft picks. No, but neither one of them moved up at all this year. Like, it doesn't make any sense at all.
I have no idea why they – yeah.
Did you read the picks?
Yeah.
The Eagles traded the 16th and the 19th pick and then, like, 2 late-round picks for the Saints' 18th pick and
a 2023
like 3 other
round.
picks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I don't understand that draft at all. Like, that's a trade that's just these are guys that are bored.
It's kind of what it seems like. This is really weird. I don't understand who gets an advantage here, or if anybody does. I don't even know that anybody picked up more draft picks in order to.
No, that's what you said. This I saw it while we were talking, and that doesn't make any sense to me at all. Like, this is just 2 guys that are sitting at a bar that are drunk and just want to do something.
Like, hey, what if I gave you number 237 and you gave me 194, but then I also give you 101 and you give me, whatever, right?
the definition of attention whores right here. Okay, this is nobody's talking about our team, and so let's just make a trade so people will talk about our team.
I mean,
technically, I guess it gives the Saints 2 draft picks in this draft, first round, instead of next.
Yeah.
I guess it does that. Like, maybe they really love this draft and they want 2 first rounders. It does, because it's what it does do. It does give the Saints 2 first rounders instead of 1.
Yeah, and the Eagles already had the number 15 draft pick, and they had 16 and 19 as well.
Yeah.
So now they've only got 2 first-round draft picks this year instead of 3, and
but
Saints
they have 2 next year as well.
But
you know what? This makes sense. All right, just saying that, this makes sense to me. And the reason it makes sense to me is this. If I'm the Eagles, I don't want 3 draft picks from the same draft. Because if it happens to be a down draft, you got a lot of groceries from a store going out of business. And that's not good. All right?
Yeah, that's true.
That's not what anybody wants.
But
Schefter
came out and said that the trade actually sets up the Saints, or it sets up the Eagles better to potentially draft a quarterback in 2023 if Jalen Hurts doesn't work out.
Well, yeah, because it gives them 2 picks next year.
Yeah. So that makes sense.
I guess I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I suppose so.
The Eagles turned 4 picks into 4 picks, and the Saints turned 2 picks into 2 picks.
Not too shabby. They just rearranged where they're getting them. That's not bad. That's not bad. All right. Anything else you want to hit on?
Nope. Let's go.
All right. I'll let you get out of here. I'll wrap this thing up.
Hey, buddy.
All right. Be good, bud. All right. So let's go ahead and wrap this show up. Go over to winningcureseverything.com. That is the one-stop shop. Everything you need to know about us. We certainly appreciate all you guys for being here. If you've not already, subscribe to the podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, leave a 5-star review for us if you would so kindly. And make sure and leave a written review if you can do so. I think Apple Podcast is still the only one that lets you do that, but Spotify lets you leave reviews. I think Amazon Music does as well. Whatever your podcast app is, go ahead and knock that thing out for us. Also, the YouTube, like the video for us if you would, and make sure that you are subscribed. Jump into the comments. Saw several people in watching today. We would love to hear from you, so go ahead and jump in those comments and let us know what you think about the show, what you want us to talk about, etc. We've got a few off-season shows left, and then once we get into May, we start previewing college football teams. So we will start that thing rolling very, very soon. But with that said, it is almost time for us to get out of here and go ahead and start watching the national championship pregame coverage. So North Carolina, Kansas tonight. We gave our picks out earlier. Go ahead and rewind the video. You can go back to the very beginning. That's where we give out our picks on that. With that said, you guys take care of yourself, take care of each other, and hopefully all of your picks cash this evening and this week. Thanks for checking out Winning Cures Everything. If you want to keep up with us, hit subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Visit the website at winningcureseverything.com, or you can like us on Facebook or follow us at Winning Cures, at Gary WCE, or at Chris B. Giannini on Twitter. Share out the show.